Hello and welcome to this week's Scriptcase video. My name is Jamie and today I have a project for you where we will be having a look at the Sweetalerts available within Scriptcase. But first, let's go ahead and log in, shall we? Okay, so welcome to today's project. Of course, you may be returning from another video or watching this Scriptcase video for the first time. And if that is the case, welcome. And if not the case, then welcome also. Welcome to Scriptcase. And here we show you how you can work within the development environment created by NetMake. Okay, so today I will be creating a project. It has been a little while since I started creating a blank project. So let's go ahead with that today. And I will call this then SweetAlerts. So, and I could give it a description. I'm not going to, and I could also give it an icon, and I would just go next. Now for the database, I will be using my samples database, and that is locally, so it doesn't require a password entering. So if you were online or using any other database that maybe has a username and password set, this is my WAMP setup, so it requires no username and password, just root. Okay, and in here I have then my sample database. So I will choose that. And then I can come here and test the connection and just make sure it's okay. Now I have many other settings here available for the database connection, and I can apply those to the project now or at any stage later on. Okay, so from here I can add project languages. There's many languages available. You can choose the regional settings per language. So you can even have the same language multiple times and have different regional settings for those languages, which is really awesome. Okay, so I'll go next from here, and here we can choose then the theme that we want to apply. Now there's a whole load of them, and I should note at this also that there is also a complete theme editor available within Scriptcase. So choosing the theme that is best for your project, or actually more related to your project or the theme design that you have, just pick that one. So I'll choose here the guava as the default and remove then the blueberry, and I'll just click create. And just like that, I have then created a whole new project. And what I want to do then is, first of all, just choose here the grid application. And I'm choosing the grid application because it will also create a form for me. But first I need to choose here the table that I will be connecting to. And you see here that I have a few tables to choose from. So what I would do then is say, choose here the clients table. Okay, and here within the clients table, we can see that I have these specific fields: ID clients, add date, owner, client name, email address, area, zip, country, update date, as well as an active tag. And once I have the table selected, it indicates then the total amount of fields selected. And of course, I can adjust that within the editor or here within the drop menu system that is available. Now, I can also apply localization directly to this application, or I can apply it globally, which typically it is globally. And as you see, I now have the option to also generate the form for this grid. And that will provide us the advantage of having the grid linked together with the form right away from the get-go. Okay, so here I'll click on the create button, and Scriptcase will then generate the grid application and open it. And once it's then finished generating the applications, and we can see that very quickly, 2 applications were generated, and it then starts the grid application. I can click on the add new, and the form has also been generated. Now, it just has not been added or opened for edit. Okay, so we can just quickly do that by opening it ourselves. Okay, so we have a very basic form and grid application here. And like I said, in our fields that we have available, we have a tag there as well as a few options. So let's just come here to the edit fields within the grid application. And I can very quickly just drag and drop some of these down here to the fields not shown section. and then those would be out of the way. And I'll just save that really quickly. I don't have to, of course, but I'm just going to anyway, just for prosperity. Okay, so here the add date. Here I can then define the date of insertion, and then here the update, I can then define the date time of update. For the owner, that would then typically be the user login. So there, I would then typically choose here, define value, and add then here the user login. Okay, but I'm not generating the security today, so we won't actually be using that. Okay, so I'll save that for now. And I should note we have here our active status. Okay, so if I run our form here, first of all, and we want to actually have that one displayed. So, and for our active status, we want to change that here to a checkbox, and I will save that again. Come here to the left-hand side, the field section, and then come here to the active box, which we now have defined here as a checkbox. Okay, so here I will choose then a manual option, and the lookup type is a single value. Now that does then refresh, so I'll choose here to use a switch as well while I'm there. And then here at the bottom, I'll say active, which is then 1, and then the negative value is 0. And then I need to then insert that so that it then becomes available. Okay, so if I now go ahead and run the form again, we now have here our active status. Okay, so with that, we could just enable and disable that, and we could just leave that as it is. But using the included Scriptcase macro for the Sweetalerts, or should I say message, which is then the SC Ajax message macro, and that enables then, or allows us then to use messages within this form. So here, for this active field, I can come here to the Ajax events, for instance, and apply a new Ajax event. And here I'll say then the field that I want to create the event is then the active field, and the event for processing, so when it should occur, would then be on click, because it's a checkbox. Okay, so there I can also pass parameters if I wanted to. And I can also just go ahead and create the event. Okay, so now here within the event, we can then add some macros, some actions, some processes, whatever should be happening when we click here on our button. Okay, and for that, as I said, we can use the Scriptcase macro, and that is then SC underscore Ajax underscore message. Okay, and then we need our brackets, and then we close it up. So that is the macro we are going to use today. Now, this macro also does allow for parameters and so forth, so that we can customize this feature. And it allows us to send, or show, should I say, customizable messages. So we have then in here our parameters, and the first one is then the message that we want to display. We have then also the title, okay? And so then we can say that is then alert, and then provide a message for that, has been updated, or whatever you want to apply. Now here, then we apply then some parameters. Let's just go with that, parameters. And then after the parameters, we can also then include a redirect. Okay, so like so. And after this, we have the option for a string toast, which then actually really opens this message or macro up, should I say. So that is then our string toast there, and that is then what we would then apply. So that is then the basic formatting of our message, or of the macro, should I say. And of course, we can go ahead and check that out within the help documentation, which you will find up here by clicking the help button, and come here to read the manual, go to macros, and then macros, and here we can then search for the SC underscore Ajax, and then it's also message. And there we have it. And if I click that, it will then take us to that section. And there we see that we have our format. And we can see then the parameters that are available and a description for each of these parameters. So as you would expect, message title, for the parameters, we can indicate a modal box. We also have the option for buttons and redirection. Okay, so that is then how we could format that to give you an idea. And there is also an example here of how you should use the parameters for redirection. Okay, and at the bottom here, we have here the toast parameters. So we basically indicate a yes or no for toast. We provide the position and then also the type of warning or type of message pop-up that wants to be displayed. And that will then change the format, i.e. the color, should I say, of those toast messages. Okay, so at the bottom here, we have all of the parameters that we can check out, and you can then, of course, see that also. So we have here a complete example of using a toast message. So I'll just copy that one and I'll just place that in here. And we can see that is pretty much the same. We have here the message, we have here the title, we have here then the string for the toast. Okay, so in this case, we're actually canceling out here the parameters as they are not then included. Okay, so in some cases you can actually remove them, and others they would be a requirement of the macro. In this case, we can either use parameters or not. Okay, so with that, we have then here our toast message. And if we then, for instance, wanted to change this, we could then add in here an if statement. So if we have an if in here and like so, and here we would then indicate our field first of all. So that is an active, and if an active equals 1, and then we can say, well, whatever we want the message to be. Okay, and else we then display something else. We then change our message. Now, remember that we have alternative options here for our toast message. So here for our active 1, we then change it. And here, for instance, we will say then updated active status maybe, and we could just then place that in here so that we have the same message on both of those, but then here change here maybe the look of our toast message. And remember, we have here also the positioning here, so center start, checking here in the manual. Again, scrolling up here, we have then also the positionings available and how and where we can actually change that. Okay, do take also note that we have here the macro scope, and that will show you then on which applications you are then able to use this macro in the first place. So note that, of course, even on a grid application, we could then add that on the on-click event, which is something we are more than likely going to do. Of course, that's why I created a form and a grid. Okay, so before I go ahead and run this, because of course I do have a mistake here, and I would want to correct that before I go ahead and run this application. Otherwise, of course, it would actually be giving me a little bit of a bug. Okay, if I would have just left that as equals 1, then it would just, yeah, you can try it. Try it yourself. Okay, so if I click now on active, I now have the warning message as updated, and click on active again, and now it is in green. And of course, I could change the message to whatever I want it to be for any other click event. And we can add that into other applications also, as well as, of course, within the grid application. So within the grid application, we can also use this SweetAlert macro, and in the action bar would for sure be one of those places. So here, for instance, I could create a new button, and I could create an Ajax button for an Ajax event, or even just for notification. So here I'll call this ACT for action bar, or action, however you like, underscore, and say SweetAlert. Okay, and click next. And then here I have the option within the action bar to add multiple states. Now, this is only available for the Ajax event or Ajax option selection. Okay, so if I add an extra state here, I could use this, for instance, for the active status of one of these clients that I have within this list. So here I can say active, for instance, and here I can say inactive. Okay, and I can add a font awesome icon also. So here I will add a check. So, and here I will add a cross like so. And there we have some nice indicators. Of course, I could add some colors now if I wanted to. Well, let me go ahead and do that. So I'll add green in there. And this one here, well, let's make that red so we can see red. Okay. And we have that also a hover color, which we could then say, well, let's just make it black. And also here, we'll make it blackish as well. And of course, maybe you would want to actually apply your custom colors for your theme. Okay, so that's important to note there, and that will of course allow you to do that. We can apply a hint here, and of course that hint can be whatever you like. So here I would say this client is active, and language variables, you can also use those in here, which is of course more than likely recommended. Okay, so this client is inactive. Capital letters. And we have then also here the option for a confirmation message. Now it's important to note that with the macro, if I scroll up here, we have the option also to display a button. And this is essentially going to perform the same thing for us. So here we can say, are you sure? Are you sure? Or whatever you want to apply that as a message. I can save then that button. And then in here, we can then say, if, for instance, our active field, and if that equals 1, then we are going to display or process whatever it is that you want to do. Okay, so if I save that, we actually will want to change here the icon. Okay, and so I will add in here an else and save that again. And we can come back here to the macros. And we have up here at the top here a load of macros for the action bar. So if I just come here at the top again, and I'll just do a search and I'll just go action bar. And then here we have the action bar click state, enable, disable, hide, show, as well as the action bar state. So this one changes the current state of the button on the action bar, displays the created buttons, hides buttons, enables buttons, disables buttons, and returns to current state. Okay, so we can check out each of these. And in this case, of course, we would just, for instance, want to have here the state. And there I could just grab this one here and I'll apply that in there like so. And here we will say active, and here inactive. And we need to apply also our button name, which of course I've forgotten already. So let's come back here to ACT SweetAlert. So let's come here back to the Ajax, which we can then edit. And then here we can then apply our name, ACT SweetAlert. So, and paste that in there too. And if I run that, we then define here the current state of this, and it will then automatically update. Okay, so clicking on it now gives us this box. It's not going to update anything, because for that we would then still need to add the process for that, but we then already have here the start, let's say, of a nice little grid where you could essentially also update the active status of a user. Okay, so with that we could then also apply in here our message. So if I come here to our grid client here, and if it's active, we then want to display here the success message. And if it's inactive, we can then display then here the warning message. And if I run that again, and then clicking on here, this client is active. Okay. And there we now have our status update. Just like that, that will then also, of course, update. Now, if it is 0, so if the client were inactive, and we would apply in there also then the update for the database, then of course that would also update. Okay, so the SC Ajax macro is really an awesome little macro that we can apply in, various applications, not only the grid and form applications, but also within the control application and the calendar application. So it is definitely one of those awesome little macros within Scriptcase that you will want to use within your applications to really give your users a little more information on the ongoings of processes that are happening in the back end. Okay, so let's return back here to our form application and let's just have a little play around here with our SC Ajax message. So if I go ahead and run it again now, let's just remind ourselves, there we go, we have a little toast message up here, okay? And if I just make one slight adjustment here, I'll just change this toast from yes to no, and I'll run that again. And well, let's just check it out. This time we have a completely different type of alert. And of course, we have here our message that is there, as well as then the indicator and so forth that we had originally selected within our macro. Okay, so just like that, we could actually make a change. But let's come back here to our manual again. And if I scroll up here, just at the top here, we have again here another option. So we have here the modal options. Let's come here and I'll just copy that one and I will replace here the toast and replace that with modal equals Y and button equals Y and the button label equals. So cancel, just for fun of it, shall we? Cancel and run. Okay. And now if I click on that, there we go. And there we also have our custom button displayed there, as well as a modal window. And you see that looks slightly different than our previous macro edition there. So we could actually, let's just go ahead and do this. If I open that in another tab, we have that there. Okay. And if I then go ahead and change that here to modal equals no, okay, and run that again, it will now open here in our form. And we still have this open so we can compare. And there we have now as a modal no. Okay, so it still opens actually a modal window. And of course, we could change that again back to a toast parameter where we have then here our toast settings indicator. So I'll just copy these ones here again and place those in there. Toast. Yes. Let's run that. And now here we have our toast message, okay? And again, a reminder with the no in there. We can run that again. And that we have 3 alternative views or methods really for use with these Sweetalerts. So we actually have little beautiful sexy even Sweetalerts that we can position to the top, to the right, to the left, any position on the screen really. Don't forget you have those positions here. Okay, they are there. You can set the top left and right as well as the width and height if you like. Otherwise, you can just check that out and apply it in any way that is suitable for your purpose as well as your project and the application, because all of those variables, they will of course matter on how you would want to have or want to use this SweetAlert option or sweet message option or message confirmation option. The world is your oyster with Scriptcase, thankfully. And with that, we have, of course, many other macros available here. So do be sure to check these out within the Scriptcase manual. And these will all make your life so much easier, especially once you have applied them a few times and you really get to see the advantage of that. Of course, one line could equal 200 lines of code somewhere else, which you did not have to write. And that is why these macros are also pretty awesome. Okay, so that is pretty much it for today's video on SweetAlerts. And so sweet they were, and so sweet you have been also for watching all of the video and learning all about Scriptcase. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have, of course, a happy Christmas, which is upcoming, and I think I will be seeing you maybe in the next year. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next video.